Well, I think only each individual can know from his own experience what works best to handle the difficult mental states and emotions. It's not one right answer. So, of course, for some people, chanting helps a lot. For other people, it doesn't make any difference. For some people, repeating mantras or meditation helps a lot. Other people, not necessarily. It also depends on the extent by which you're able to concentrate your mind in the first place. Because it's possible that you go for chanting and you're feeling any kind of negativity. You go chanting. If you're not focused with the activity of chanting, so it looks like you're doing the chanting, but you're not really doing it. Or you sit in meditation, but your mind is wandering about all sorts of things. You are not really doing the meditation, etc. One important foundation of mindfulness is to become aware continuously of your mental state. Which mental state I'm having right now, what emotions I'm having right now. Once you become aware of that, many people don't even do that. For example, something happens, makes you angry, you begin to act in an angry way, and you're not aware that there is anger.
Yeah.
You're not even aware of it, you're just acting emotionally. So that's it's very important. The first step is to be aware of the emotion that we're experiencing. Because that awareness will allow us to respond to it in a good way, rather than suffer because of it. So you were talking about anxiousness, depression, etc. When these emotions arise, naturally we feel bad. But if we're not aware that this emotion is there, then there's nothing that we can do about it. If we're aware that we're feeling this or that kind of emotion, then at least we have the chance to respond to it in a way which resolves the emotion. Second thing is, once we're aware of our emotions, our mental states, then to experiment and investigate them. Most of the time we just want the bad feeling to go away immediately.
Yeah. Very typical.
We want it to disappear, or we want to run away from it, escape, or we want to destroy it. This is what we refer to as vipawa tanha. It's a kind of a desire. It is a desire to cause this negativity to vanish, to disappear, one way or another. That it's not affecting us anymore. So that in itself is a problem. This attitude in itself is problematic. Because sometimes there are things that we can do which will cause this or that negative feeling to go away. But many other times, most of the times I believe it's not possible to do anything. The more profound the feeling, the more it is supported by kamma, by a kind of psychological habits that we have developed and reinforced for a very long time, the more unlikely that there is anything that we can do about it. So this is the most important thing, is when a negative feeling or mental state arises, is not to battle with it, not to resist it. Everything would be much easier if we just allow it to arise, allow it to be there, accept it. Secondly, this dukkha is a very good opportunity for us to begin to understand ourselves, to begin, instead of wanting the feeling to go away, is to ask questions about it. One of those questions is, how does it really feel? Most of the time we presume that we already know our feelings very well, but we never really allow ourselves to investigate those feelings. How do they really feel? What effect do they exercise on our minds and also sometimes on the body? With what kind of intensity do they arise? Do they last for a long time or a short time? Things like that. Questions about the nature of the feeling. This allows us to understand it better. Secondly, is to ask questions about the possible causes, the possible circumstances, conditions which led to this feeling to arrive. Where does it come from? And most important is to see, how do we respond to it spontaneously? Because our goal is to stop responding to these emotions spontaneously. We want to be able to remain calm, to remain self-possessed, even when we are experiencing them. That we are not acting, we are not taking them as a basis for action. We are not grasping onto them. We are not identifying with them. We are not saying, oh, now I am depressed, as you were just saying a moment ago. I am depressed, or I am anxious, or I am sad. But to learn how to look at this emotion as if it's not my property, it's not myself, it's just happening. It is just an emotion arises. I didn't choose. Nobody asked me whether I want to be sad or afflicted. It just happened. So, all this comes from the starting point, is mindfulness. When an emotion arises, when a mental state comes to dominate the mind, we are able to notice that. And secondly, we don't have aversion towards it. It's okay. Let it be. This is not myself, it's just happening. So I feel this is much more important than wanting this emotion to go away. Because, first of all, many times we can do nothing to make those negative feelings go away. And secondly, it's more useful and more purposeful for our spiritual development to understand those feelings. And that requires that we don't want them to go away. That requires that we are, as they arise and last and cease, we are able to observe them dispassionately. Even though they feel bad, it's okay. We're still able to coexist with them. And that's coexistence and tolerance is very important because it allows us to understand this emotion. It allows us to really transcend it. To not identify with it, but to look at it as if we were looking at something outside of us. If you see the spider, it's coming on your body right now, but you're just able to, this spider, this negative thing walking on your skin, it's not who you are. It's just something that came from outside, and when you do like this, it goes away. The same for emotions. Imagine it is exactly the same thing. It's something that just comes. Even if it's within, even if you see it, imagine it, use the imagination, say that this is me. No, it's just something that is happening. I didn't invite it to come, it just came, just like the spider. That it is not physical and that it is not outside of your body, it doesn't make it who you are. It's just something that forces itself into your mental world, not the physical. Sometimes it also affects the physical world, but it just comes uninvited. So the same way to to use it as an object of observation, not to identify with it. This is much more important than wanting it to go away. Because if all we do is to run away from it, or want to destroy it, or want it to go away, all that we do is that we are ignoring it, actually. So in Buddhist psychology, these negative emotions and states of minds, they have roots. And these roots exist within our mental world. We need to be able to find our way to these roots. To destroy them at the root. This is what the Buddha said. Not just on a superficial level. Only when you have removed the root, then they will not come again. But removing them at the root requires that we really understand them. Transcending them. This is what panya is. This is what panya means. The ability to go beyond a certain emotion or a state of mind, the ability to understand it completely. And the result is that when we reach a high level of doing this, needs training, needs exercise, and needs us to sit with our bad emotions. Not to respond to them with anger or aversion, but just to sit with them, observe them, accept them. Investigate them, investigate where they come from. Because emotion is always something that is coming from within. We have something that allows them to arise. We have reinforced them, we have a habit of responding and acting in a certain way which gives power to these emotions. So only when we have understood this completely, in experience, not just talking like that eventually they grow weaker and weaker and weaker. And then eventually they have nothing to be sustained with. They just become unsustainable, naturally. Only through our, first is dispassion, calmness, even when we are experiencing them. And secondly, through investigating them, understanding them. This is how they become unsubstantial. And this takes time and takes training and takes consistency.